Joining me in the studio this evening to talk about the day's sports news is commentator Ernest Opuni. Welcome, Ernest. It's lovely to have you here.
Thanks, Andy.
I think we need to start with La Liga. It was off, and now it's back.
Yes.
That's a relief, isn't it?
It is, and it's the kind of sporting event that deserves the right to actually run its course.
Right.
Now, I'm not convinced that the arguments that were in play have been resolved. It's like a bit, the pause button's been hit. But it would have been terrible for whoever to win it almost by default, having worked as hard as they have. So I'm glad that they've actually managed to get the football back on the pitch. But I think that the questions still remain that need to be resolved moving forward.
Yeah, you absolutely get the feeling that there are a lot more talks to be had. But I think, as you pointed out, it is on pause right now, which means that for the time being, football is the winner, and in particular Barcelona, because they now have the opportunity. They feel that they're going to win it. They're 4 points clear, 2 games to play. If they beat Atletico Madrid at the weekend, of course, Atletico being the current champions, then they will be the champions.
And it feels right, doesn't it? If you're going to actually seal the title, who better than to actually beat than the current champions? Obviously, even if it doesn't happen this weekend, likelihood is they're pretty much on the cusp of doing so. So it just feels right. Obviously, let's get the season finished, and then there are conversations to be had about how to probably not get into this position again. It feels as though, I don't know, it's too high profile a sporting event for it to have actually been held to ransom in the way it has.
For sure. I mean, of course, Barcelona are double winners in a way, because it's also been announced that the Spanish Cup will go ahead. 30th of May, I believe, is the date for that, where they, of course, are through to the final, aren't they, with everything, playing Athletic Bilbao, where, again, you'd assume they're the favourites. So they could be double domestic winners as a result of La Liga coming back.
I'd imagine that, actually, to be perfectly honest, the only team that probably wouldn't have minded stuff not continue might have been Real Madrid, to be honest, because every chance is they're not going to be able to, well, they're not going to catch Barca, and they didn't have the greatest of weeks this week as well. But Athletic Bilbao potentially could cause a bit of a surprise. It depends on how much Barca have got their mind on that game, and whether they're looking beyond that into, obviously, the big game that's coming up.
Yeah, it's just a week before the Champions League
final,
isn't it?
So, I mean, they've proved in the past that they're able to kind of multitask, if you like, and focus on more than one thing, and they'll need to do that, because it's a kind of match, if they're not focused, that they could end up in a banana skin.
Right. Right. Well, Ernest, you mentioned Real Madrid, of course, out of the Champions League now. There's going to be a ripple effect from this, isn't there? We're expecting some sort of fallout now. The question marks over Gareth Bale and Carlo Ancelotti. Are either of them going to stay? Will they be playing and managing for Real Madrid next season, or do you think they're both off?
If you look at Real's kind of past history, if they were to both disappear, it wouldn't be surprising. It doesn't make it any less ludicrous, though. I mean, Ancelotti's got over 75% winning sort of margins in terms of the time he's been there percentage. So straight away you think, what's happening there? Gareth Bale and him, I think, are actually being used slightly as scapegoats. And it's a cultural thing, I think, with Real Madrid. If they don't win, it's not because somebody was better, it's because somebody didn't get it right. And they've always got to turn their attention on to whoever it is. And at the moment, it looks like it's Gareth Bale and Ancelotti. I mean, it's only about 11 months ago we were talking about the 10th title that they actually won in Europe. And that's like a distant memory. And I think it's something to do with the culture of the club, which is almost this sense of entitlement, this sense of, we want it, therefore we should have it. And if they don't quite get it, then kind of toys come out of the pram. And I don't understand why particularly Ancelotti should be in any problem whatsoever, nor Bale, to be honest.
Well, in terms of place in the final, they haven't got it, but Juventus have. The old lady's resurgent once more. What do we think? I personally feel that Barcelona versus Juventus is a more exciting, more mouth-watering, from a neutral perspective, final than El Clasico, which we get the opportunity to see several times a season anyway. But that's just my take. You're the expert.
Well, my take is right alongside yours. I think the build-up to an El Clasico match, generally speaking, is as much the event as the match itself. And I think you throw in a Champions League trophy, which is probably going to actually cause a bit more of there to be some tension. I suspect the build-up would actually be more exciting than the match itself.
Right.
With Juve, as you say, I think what we've actually got is a really quite interesting contrast. It's really going to be about Juve with their inbuilt ability to just defend and then go forward from that sort of standpoint against, I guess, the three up front for Barca, and a bit of an arm wrestle, who's going to win that particular battle. And I think Bayern Munich, who actually lost, were unlucky in the sense I thought they actually kept Barca at bay and actually could have won that match. Now, if Juve
they did show that blueprint in the second leg, didn't they? They showed how to do it.
Exactly. And if you've got the firm defensive base from which Juve are going to build, which is come at us, we're not going to let you beat us. If you give us a chance, we'll turn you over. Potentially, and Barca aren't fantastic at the back, so you've got a nice bit of contrast. Yeah. So I think it's a good outcome. You kind of know what you're going to get against Real Madrid, and it's all the brouhaha leading up to it. But the matches don't always match.
We've been saved that this time around. Very quickly, have to talk about the little midfield general that's on his way out of the COP. Stevie G is playing his last game at Anfield in Liverpool colours this weekend before he joins LA Galaxy. It's a big departure, isn't it?
He's going to leave a huge pair of boots, which I suspect aren't going to be filled anytime soon. I mean, the word legend is bandied around quite a lot, isn't it? But in this case, it really does belong with this particular player. I mean, he's right up there in the same sentence as Kenny Dalglish, Ian Rush. You can take it way back to whenever. His loyalty to the club, he's been captain for 12 years. How many players stay with a club that long?
That's right.
He's been there since the age of 9. He had opportunities to go elsewhere. I mean, people are going to point to the fact that he hasn't got a league title. To my mind, that's not the epitaph on his career. Slight question mark, actually. If things had happened differently last summer, would he be going anyway? He still looks to me like he's got enough left in the tank to have carried on. And it's going to be a tough one for him and for the fans, I think, because they're genuinely saying farewell to a proper son of Anfield.
Very well said, Ernest. Thank you very much. Good work, my friend. Now, joining us again is sports commentator Ernest Opuni. Ernest, welcome back. Let's start off talking about Kevin Pietersen. Ian Bell's comments. In a nutshell, he's basically saying, look, Kevin Pietersen would walk into any team in the world. Yeah. He hasn't said, why isn't he back for England? He's just kind of made that point. One of the best players he's ever played with. Why isn't he back?
It's that balance, I suppose, between what Kevin Pietersen brings on the pitch and the perceived, if you like, baggage of stuff that happens behind the scenes. A lot of this is really, to my mind, about really bad communication, and not just Kevin Pietersen himself. There's a whole bunch of other players in the whole scenario who probably might need to reflect on how this has played out.
It's all feeling very petty, I must say.
It is, and lack of trust, breakdown of trust, apparently. I'm not entirely certain that anyone can say they're completely blameless.
I mean, let's play devil's advocate here and say that he is a real nuisance around the pack. Yeah. He's hard to manage. He's still an extreme talent. Yes. Is that not... You have to harness great talent. So you have to find a way to deal with it, even if it's putting him in another room, in a different hotel, whatever it takes. Get him on the field scoring runs.
Is one side of it, and I'd go along with that just for the on-the-pitch scenario. I can understand, however, if there are real concerns about a destabilising effect behind the scenes. When you do the balance, it's a case of, you know, a cost-benefit analysis when you think about Kevin Pietersen. And yes, he's going to be missed, not out there with the bat in his hand, but is he going to be missed behind the scenes? Some folks probably won't.
OK. Ernest, it's been a real pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for joining us.